Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I present to you the first iteration of the Fuck You Captain Marvel PvP team. Now, this is a team that is built specifically around Captain Marvel, so we're taking advantage of her entirely. If she dies, you're basically screwed, but that is not the point. The point is to kill the team that you're fighting before they kill you. So in order to do that, we've got Wasp's leadership, which is the best of the three. Also, you never want to start with your best character because of the cooldown penalty in timeline battle. We've got Wasp's tier 2 passive, giving us the debuff removal. We've also got Wasp's uniform, giving us 10% increased HP. And then we are also rocking Volstagg tier 2, who is here for the 20% all damage received reduction. Now, the Ronin 50% reduction has been patched, so if you cheeky boys and girls are thinking about throwing him on your team, it's not gonna work. As for Captain Marvel, I didn't change anything about her build from the last time you saw it from the World Boss video. Thanks for watching, by the way. However, I did change one thing. I changed her CTP of Energy to a CTP of Destruction. So she's got Guard Break Immunity, and she's got Penetration. That is basically all she needs to become a complete nightmare in PvP. And I actually want to make this video before I make the video about her type enhancement, because I want to see how much better the type enhancement makes her, because she's already pretty insane. It sucks that there's no damage reduction, because I honestly think that defense is more of an issue for her than offense, but we'll get to that later on. So we're actually just going to go and fight the best. Well, we don't know if they're the best players, but they are top on timeline battle, so they're obviously doing something right. They may have losses, but they also have a lot of wins. And so we're just going to fight all of these guys 100% auto, and this is actually great for me because honestly, more time that I can spend just talking to people in Twitch chat or making coffee or something instead of actually focusing on timeline battle, that's great. And I can also still win, and I can also still fight the best teams. So we just auto here. I can actually even take auto off and just let Wasp die. We just need Wasp to stall for about 6 or 7 seconds. That is the kind of the minimum amount of time, so that when Captain Marvel, see, that's just gravy. We don't actually want that. But when Captain Marvel jumps in, if you've stalled to about the 452 mark or the 450 mark, she will have all of her skills on cooldown except for the 5th skill, and then you can start screwing up and killing your enemies. But this is actually not a good example. I'm actually just gonna let her die here, and now we're gonna start the party. I assure you that Captain Marvel would have killed. I ensure you that she would have killed Jean, but we're going to show her off here, killing everybody, and we're going to go and fight more Jeans later on, because there are more Jeans. There's plenty of guest Jeans and Levi's. There we go. She one-shotted herself with her 2nd skill. There's a lot going on. That wasn't the greatest match to show you because it happened so quickly, but the 3-on-1 is real, and I've only lost in my last, like, 15 fights. I kid you not. I've only lost once. This is not the greatest example of a team because he should have Jean Grey leadership, but okay, whatever. I'm just going through and showing you how colossally insane she is. So the basic premise is that for Captain Marvel is that she has very high stats as a universal tier 3. She doesn't have any damage penalties against other types because she's a universal. And then her 4th skill. Those are the two things to think about, because it's not just the iframe ignore skill. The iframe ignore skill is huge, and that's why she makes really short work of characters like Spider-Man. But there's more to it, because you know, Nova has iframe ignore, so does Cyclops, but they're not level 70. They can't get to tier 3, so they don't have that stat bump. Look at how she's just butchering these characters. But on top of her 4th skill, she has a lot of other abilities. I mean, her 4th skill is like, I want to say like 70% of the reason why she does so well. Her stat bump at tier 3, which is substantial, especially the HP. She got like 20,000 more HP. The stat bump is also a big reason why, maybe about 20% of the reason why she does so well. So you've got about 90%. 90% of her power in PvP coming from the 4th skill, iframe ignore. And not only iframe ignore, the 4th skill has tremendous damage, and it has tons of hits, so it eats through guard hits, it eats through HP shields. There's literally nothing you can do to hide. Not only is it the 4th skill and it's the stat buff, but she also has other pieces that make her very good. So her you're gonna see here, her 3rd skill has iframe priority. What that means is she can actually interrupt other characters with her third skill. So what ends up happening half the time is they iframe at the same time. And I've seen it, I've observed it with Spider-Man, where they both do skills at the same time, but they both do iframes, and then nobody gets any damage off. So her third skill as well, if you are playing her manually, is a really good way to protect yourself. Her second skill is not a priority iframe, but it is still an iframe with an iframe at the beginning, so you can still use that to punish certain characters with delayed iframes like Thanos, or characters who just don't have a lot of iframes while you're waiting for your fourth skill to come off cooldown, like Strife. Now, this is probably the only situation where she might have some trouble, but because Wasp died very quickly, but Jean Grey is just not equipped to deal with Captain Marvel at all. Because I've got the 20% damage reduction from Volstagg, I'm taking less damage from heroes and villains, and that's really what I wanted to try and simulate, was the best possible team for Captain Marvel. I have other suggestions for you for additional teams if you're finding that you're dying specifically to other characters, but for those of you that have Captain Marvel tier 3, or for those of you that have her tier 2 and are thinking about tier 3ing her for something like this, you're in for a treat. While she may not be very good for PvE, she is absolutely, possibly one of the best now for PvP, excuse me, because this is full auto. There's very few characters in the game that you can full auto and they will win you more than 90% of their fights alone. Most characters require a team of other strong characters to kind of do other work for them, but literally Volstagg is a super easy and super, you know, inconsequential tier 2. And then Wasp, everyone has Wasp tier 2 for PvP, so you're not having to get any sort of you know, super rare pieces here. But as long as you can one-shot yourself, which is probably one of the biggest challenges, and there you go, she actually died. Wow, that was a perfect explanation. If I had a little bit more HP, you can see she had about 16,000 more, or yeah, 16,000 more HP, 168k versus 152k. If I had more HP, I absolutely would have killed her, but that's why Volstagg is on the team, and kudos to this Chinese guy for killing me with his tier 3 Captain Marvel, but that's why Volstagg is there, because if I'm fighting another Captain Marvel and they don't have Volstagg, I've got the advantage, because I've got 20% damage reduction against their attacks that they don't. Now, that's not going to save you from a souped up, a powered up tier 3 skill, or rather 4th skill, but it is going to save you from a lot of other skills. One of the ways that I could see Captain Marvel dying, especially if you're setting her up on a team like this, besides setting her up against another stronger Captain Marvel, is to a character that's been able to build up their tier 3 skill like Deadpool, possibly Captain America, although his tier 3 skill is very difficult to get off. He does a lot of damage. I was killed once by a tier 3 Captain America because he just chained iframes and he was able to tank my 4th skill, and then he killed me with his 5th skill when my other iframes were on cooldown because he ate through the guard hit with his 5th skill. But the deaths for Captain Marvel are few and far between. That death that you saw just a few minutes ago was the first death I've had in like almost 30 matches. Full auto. I'm not even joking you. I don't want to overstate or hype this up too much because I know Timeline Battle on auto is impressive, but it's still just Timeline Battle. Until they give us more, you know, of a reward for Timeline Battle, you know, if they made the crystals double or triple what they are, or they added rare character bios, then I think people would, if the rewards were better, I think people would be super hype about this new character, because then everyone's going to start using her, and then it's just going to become an arms race to get her. But you can see here that she just one-shotted Spider-Man. And with the 3rd skill, iframe, she's going to be able to kill Corvus here, almost guaranteed. Yep, she's got the penetration from her her CTP of destruction, and when he comes right out, he's going to iframe, and she's going to iframe, and then he's dead. There we go, boom. And he's toast. And if you're wondering how she's killing them when they get their invincibility up, it's because her CTP of energy is proccing, or excuse me, her CTP of destruction is proccing, and she's killing them during the animation. And this is just insane. I think one of the only characters besides another Captain Marvel that actually worries me at times is either Strife or Doctor Doom, because when they're fully built level 70, they're very, very strong PvP characters. Level 60, I'm not really too concerned. I can actually kill him with Wasp. I can remember fighting this guy on auto when I was practicing before the video, but at level 60 there's just no threat. He just dies instantly, and the 4th skill comes off cooldown fast enough that she can do it pretty much right away after he respawns, which is the disadvantage of having a revive character, but she makes very short work of everyone, and she one-shots with most. She just one-shotted with her 1st skill. It's insane. Honestly, I haven't seen a character like this since Nova. If you guys remember Nova just one-shotting everyone and how much of a headache he was. Yeah, even possibly at tier 2, I think Captain Marvel is going to become one of the top PvP characters and an easy choice for PvP, especially if she's not banned. Keep that in mind. The ban lists are getting better and better. Now, let me give you guys a few suggestions on how to counter her. I don't really have a lot of suggestions because that's how much of a nightmare she is, but I've already mentioned, of course, your own tier 3 Captain Marvel, which I know is not really obtainable for everybody, but other villains, especially like Strife, has 50% natural damage reduction, which is very useful for surviving and tanking some of Captain Marvel's hits. He also has remove buff. So with the I think it's the incapacitation, so he can also remove some of her buffs so that he can start. Did I just die? I just died to another Captain Marvel. Yeah, so there you go. There's my first point about Captain Marvel killing Captain Marvel. Other than Strife, other than Captain Marvel killing you, some other suggestions that I have would be characters with very high dodge and very high guaranteed dodge. That's pretty much the only flaw that I see, or the only potential flaw that can be exploited on Captain Marvel, because even if you iframe, she can catch you with her iframe ignore, but if you have 75, you have capped dodge, and you have very high guaranteed dodge, like, you know, for example, Quicksilver, she should be able to, or she would have a harder time, and you may be able to kill her while she's, you know, missing you. But you have to get lucky, of course, because if she does hit that 25% chance to hit you with your dodge, then you're dead, because a couple of hits and she's definitely going to chew through all of your HP. But that's basically it. If you see Captain Marvels with very powerful setups, with Wasp, with other debuff leaderships, with damage reductions or heal characters, you may just want to skip that team altogether. That's probably the best way to counter Captain Marvel, is just to skip her. Now, one other fight I do want to highlight for you, and it's the only one that I lost when I was practicing off stream, is against Carl. So I want to give a shout out, whoever you are, Carl. I've never seen you before on Twitch or on YouTube or anything like that, but yeah, very good team. This is the team. This was the only team to give me a defeat in my practice off stream or off recording, and we're going to try them again now, and then I'm going to show you some variation teams that you can use if you're trying to make the most out of your Captain Marvel and you're finding that you're not getting as much as you would want. So this is the first problem that she has, is that Wasp dies a little bit too quickly. So if I was playing this manually, which I'm not, I could stall Wasp, I could stall Strife a little bit longer with my Wasp. But this was really the problem. I actually died to, oh, nice, got her this time. Her, or his, I should say, Carl's Captain Marvel has 176,000 HP. That's huge. That's more than 20,000 points more or above mine. But it looks like I'm going to get the victory this time. Oh, maybe. See, Doom is trouble. Doom can really give you a headache, but I did get the win this time, and she gets so many aces too, which is beautiful. Honestly, guys, when I was practicing before recording, multiple fights, I would just click fight and I walked away to get water for myself or to get something else, because I just knew she was going to win. It's insane. Now, here are some suggestions if you're finding yourself trying to emulate my, trying to emulate these victories, but you're not getting far enough. If you're having trouble with dealing enough damage, you may want to swap out Volstagg for Shuri, especially if you're trying to kill supervillains, because you'll still get 35% damage reduction against villains, which is actually better than Volstagg's 20%, and you'll also get the 45%. So with Shuri on the team, you're pretty much guaranteed to one-shot all enemy Thanoses, you know, tier 3 Magnetos, Strifes, Dr. Dooms. There's no villain that's going to stand up to you when you use your 4th skill. There's basically no way that they can survive unless you have a really poorly built tier 3 Captain Marvel. Even I would suspect that this team is even very good for tier 2 Captain Marvel with all this buff, and this buff is going to get increased, keep in mind, by her tier 2 passive Carol Core. I haven't been saying it when I say the 20% damage reduction from, the 20% damage reduction from Volstagg, but it's obviously going to be 24% when you calculate the 20% additional buff that you're getting from Carol Core's passive effect. So it's 24% reduction. So this is the secondary team that I would suggest if you're having some problems offensively. If you're having problems specifically with other villains, I would suggest, and just dying to them, I would suggest trying Colossus as well. In Colossus's case, he's going to apply a 50% with Peter's will, 50% damage reduction just from supervillain type. So this is the best defensive passive that you can give a character, specifically for villains. It's not as useful for heroes, of course. There's no damage reduction against heroes, so you may still die to another tier 3 Captain Marvel, or a tier 3 Deadpool, or Quicksilver, or Captain America. It's definitely possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible. But you'll basically almost never die against villains. It'll be very unlikely, because then it's a 50% plus a 20% bonus on top of that, which is what, 60%, which is insane. 60% is like you'll be taking damage in the hundreds instead of the thousands. You could also try as an alternative, additionally, if you're dying to Quicksilvers and Deadpools, is doing this, because this will afford you both Wasp's passive and Colossus' passive and Colossus' leadership. So you'll get 11 seconds of damage, physical damage immunity. Now this can still be penetrated, but you can also then use Colossus as a deterrent, because he provides that physical reflect that can kill enemy Quicksilvers and Deadpools, although you may need to play him on manual to get that effect. I don't really see too much of a difference between these two teams, because her 18% all defense is actually quite good with 23% all attack, but I'm just giving you these suggestions in case. But these are the teams that I've kind of formulated would be best to take advantage of and kind of cheese timeline as much as possible with Captain Marvel. And I'm sure there are at least a couple other teams out there, so I want to ask you guys that question. What do you think? Can you build a better PvP team than this, specifically built around Captain Marvel? Of course, I could bring in better individual characters. I'm sure a team like this would possibly be more annoying, or more of a headache to beat as far as their individual powers. But if we want to get that ace, if we want to, dump the team and completely crush them into the ground with just Captain Marvel, that is the way to do it with that other team build, although it may not be more effective overall considering every single matchup available, because once she dies you're basically dead. Whereas with this team, although she has less defense and less tankiness, you have a much higher chance of getting other kills with those two characters by her side. So let me know what you guys think. Subscribe if you enjoy the content, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.